everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Play on GAA podcast. This is another episode of the Club Roundup. We're going to do football and hurling together. And today I'm joined by a special guest, Aaron from GAAFanTV, back on the show again. Aaron, how's it going?
Yeah, not too bad, man. Not too bad. Obviously had yourself on my own podcast yesterday previewing the Dublin final. So, looking forward to, I suppose, running through some of the latest GAA news, all the action, because there was a whole host of club action really, from Galway to Offaly to Laois to Carlow. There was so much action all over the place. So especially with all the entertainment as well, it's great to talk about. I don't think you could actually get tired of talking about all the club action at the moment, to be perfectly honest.
No doubt, yeah, because we're going to go through the weekend and it's full. So we'll start off with Saturday's action, then we'll go into Sunday's action. So obviously the one that jumps out on Saturday is the epic hurling final in the Dublin Club Championship between Kilmacud Crokes and Na Fianna. Obviously Na Fianna, they were on the verge of history, and to be honest, I thought they looked nailed on to win even before Donald Burke's goal. Then Donald Burke's goal goes in. I'm thinking, right, well, that's it. That's the crucial score. Then even Ronan Hayes missing the penalty. So many key moments seemed to go in favour of Na Fianna. And yet Kilmacud Crokes still got the win. You have to give a shout out to Ronan Hayes. The mental toughness this guy has, it looked like it just wasn't going to be his day, especially after missing that penalty. But he clutches up, gets the last minute goal to send it to extra time, and Crokes get the job done from there. That is one of the best county finals that you will see. The atmosphere, the drama, fantastic.
Yeah, it was probably one of the best hurling games I've seen in a long time, to be perfectly honest. I was thinking back, maybe Limerick and Cork in 2018, or Kilkenny Cork was a cracking game, and this year in Kilkenny Wexford was a cracking game as well. But in terms of club games, this is right up there with probably one of the best county finals probably ever. And I think I heard somewhere that this was one of the first county finals ever broadcasted on RTE. So they definitely chose the right game, because I was just cracking really, from the opening few minutes. Both sides were going toe to toe, points at both ends. They were, it was all out attack hurling. Sometimes in hurling, and it can be similar to football, where things kind of get a little bit over complicated and a bit overly tactical, and it's all about stopping this player or stopping that player, rather than just focusing on what you have. And felt like in the first half and in the second half, that's what both sides did. Especially Na Fianna in the first half, they were really impressive. Sean Curry was having an absolute stormer. I think he had 8 points in total in the day, 7 of which were from play. He was in incredible form, and Donald Burke as well, doing what he does best, dispatching that penalty, getting the second goal as well. But yeah, like what you said, in the final 10 minutes, it was like it was like if you could flip a switch or something and just completely turn the tables completely from one end to the other, then that's exactly what happened. Because Ronan Hayes, he missed the penalty. He missed a really scoreable chance as well, a couple of minutes later from probably about 20 to 30 metres. And you thought, even as the camera went on him at that moment in time as well, and you thought this just isn't Kilmacud Crokes' day. This isn't Ronan Hayes' day. Na Fianna are going to have their moment, but they get themselves 3 goals, and they keep themselves within touch and distance. And Ronan Hayes just came more and more into the game. He scored 1-8, I think, from the 51st minute onwards. And Kilmacud were that good that game could have went on an extra 10 to 20 minutes, and they probably would have won it by double digits, because that's how good they were. And unfortunately for Na Fianna, their legs just fell off. They looked jaded, tired, and they were closing the space really well in the first half, and they were limiting Kilmacud any goal chances, really, any scoring opportunities. But for whatever reason, from about the 50th minute onwards, that just didn't happen at all, and the game plan went out the window. But yeah, you'd have to commend Kilmacud Crokes, and they're probably contenders now for the All Ireland as well as Leinster.
Yeah, without a doubt, because you look at the strength and depth that they have. I was very impressed with young Sheehy at fullback as well. Bill O'Carroll at centre half back, very impressive again. They're just very strong throughout the pitch, and they're a good unit of a team as well. So moving on from the Dublin hurling final, because we got a lot to get through, there was a shock in the Galway Championship. Corofin knocked out of the All-Ireland Club Championship, beaten in the final in Galway. Mount Bellew Moylock end 35 years of heartache as they knock out Corofin. I didn't see this one coming, I have to say.
To be honest, I kind of had a funny feeling that Mountbelly would go and win the game, but I hadn't seen enough really of either side. I hadn't seen enough of the Galway Football Championship up until this final. But when you think about it, like Mountbelly beat Corofin last year. They beat them quite comfortably by 7 points. It wasn't much of a contest really. Obviously they lost to Moycullen in the final, but then they beat Moycullen in the semi-finals this year very comfortably again with a whole host of goals. Owen Finnerty, getting on the score sheet. Patrick Kelly looks like a very good player as well. And in this game, really, like it was never really in doubt. Like they just never, Corofin never really clicked into gear. They were trying that real direct ball into the full forward line. It just wasn't working. They weren't quick enough. They didn't seem to have that same zip about themselves. And like their team hasn't really changed that much from the team that won the All-Ireland. They don't have Gary Sice in there, and there's one or two players that have stepped away. But it's one of those things where you can't keep winning forever. We see this with Dublin in the inter-county game. Like you're going to get caught at some point. And we've seen Mountbelly, who just looked really, really up for it. The intensity in the tackle, the turnovers, they were brilliant in the midfield. Barrett in there and Shane Moran were absolutely brilliant in the midfield. So, yeah, fair play to Mountbelly, a very, very comfortable win in the end. And it was never really in doubt. Like, this was very, very comfortable from Mountbelly, and I'd certainly have them. I think Kilmacud Crokes, funnily enough, are the favourites for the All-Ireland in football at the moment. But to be honest, I'd put Mountbelly, as the favourites, because Moycullen and Corofin are two very good teams and they beat them very, very comfortably.
Without doubt. And when you look at all the other teams that have been knocked out, the likes of Crossmaglen, Ballymun Kickham's, that have all been knocked out before getting to the All-Ireland stage, there's no reason why they can't go on and win it, especially because if Corofin had got through, we wouldn't be shy of backing them. So I think give Mountbelly the respect that they deserve. Moving from there to the Clare Hurling final, Ballyea, without Tony Kelly, still managed to win the Clare Hurling Championship. That tells you the strength and depth that these guys have. They beat Aina Kilnamona in the final. What did you make of this game?
Yeah, well, I didn't see the game personally, but from what I heard, there was definitely a lot of drama, and it definitely went down, to the wire and went down the line. But from even looking at highlights and whatnot earlier, like, to be fair to Ballyea, the fact that they don't have Tony Kelly and they've still come through this is very, very impressive. Like, there's been years where they've had Tony Kelly like at the peak of his powers, and yet they still didn't come through Clare. Like last year, Tony Kelly was in unbelievable form for Ballyea, and they didn't come through Clare. So the fact that they've actually come through without him, I suppose, is a big positive. And it's actually, it's a funny one. Sometimes you see this with a lot of teams in both football and hurling, where you take out the star player and all of a sudden it means that other players have to step up. And I think that's what we're seeing with Ballyea. Like with Daisy, with 1-9, he got a goal from the penalty spot. He was very, very impressive. Like, and to be fair, like Aidan McCarthy, obviously for Kilnamona, he's probably one of the more standout players. Like, he'd be the player that a lot of people would know. Like, he was brilliant as well with 1-7. And heartbreak for Kilnamona, because I believe they hadn't won a Clare Senior Hurling Championship in quite a long time. So the fact that they were so close to getting over the line, and I remember keeping an eye on the score on the What's the Score app, and it looked like they were going to get the job done, and it looked like it was going to be another shock. But fair play to Ballyea, like a huge win. And a lot of people are dismissing them for the All-Ireland and Munster because they don't have Tony Kelly. But like, the Clare Championship is very, very competitive, and the fact they've come through it will stand to them very well. And I'll be very intrigued. I think they're playing Ballygunner next, so I'll definitely be watching that one.
Yeah, that would be a fascinating one. Obviously, Ballygunner, one of the first sides to get out of their county championship. Do you think because Ballyea, they've only recently played the Clare final, do you think they'll have an advantage on Ballygunner because they're more Ballygunner, they've been given a bit more time. They might be a little bit rusty now.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like, it could work both ways. Like, they could go into the game fresh and kind of, buzzing from that victory and full of confidence, and then maybe start a little bit fresher than Ballygunner, or maybe they win the Clare Championship and maybe they're going out for points or celebrating. I don't know. I don't even think there's a pub in Ballyea from what I heard, so maybe they aren't. But it could go one or two ways. Like, and Ballygunner, I'm sure, like, they've been waiting in the works. They've known obviously for a while that the team that comes through Clare will be the team that they're playing. And like, Ballygunner have this record of never getting out of Munster. Like, they've lost a whole host of Munster finals down the years, like when they've been expected to win. You think back to the Boris Lee game back in 2019. So it'll be a big game for them, no doubt about it. I mean, it's an interesting one because Rapparees are another one in Wexford who, they won their county title way back at the start of September. So it's going to be very interesting, all right. But I think for Ballygunner, I think for what's happened to them over the past couple of years, I would expect them to start fresh and surely like there'll be no complacency or anything there.
Yeah, and we mentioned this as well about, obviously, we were talking about the benefit to Kilmacud Crokes, about the fact that Paul Mannion is only focusing on Kilmacud Crokes and not focusing on Dublin. But you look at Ballygunner, you've got Stephen O'Keefe there, you've got Pádraig Mahoney there, you've got a lot of former Waterford hurlers who have openly said that they're not going back to the Waterford panel and they're just focusing on Ballygunner. Do you think that that's going to make them even stronger now?
It could do all right. Like definitely when you have players that are focused on the club, like you don't have that distraction from the county. And I think you've even seen as well, like Desi Hutchinson, like his addition, I think has been huge. Like he wasn't involved for Ballygunner the last time they were on a Munster club run because obviously he was away playing soccer, I think with Brighton or something like that. Anyway, so like his addition is huge. Like he was unbelievable in that final. And to have him as well in that side, like you're looking at their team as well, like some serious hurlers in there, like Pádraig Mahoney, like you mentioned before, and obviously Desi Hutchinson as well. A lot of very experienced players in defence as well. So, I mean, I think with that addition of Desi Hutchinson, they're definitely All Ireland contenders. And I think given the way the Munster Club Championship has kind of looked, like the Piershik would have been one of the clear favourites anyways, or Patrick Swell, but they didn't come through. Limerick, Kilmallock, fair enough. They're a very good team. You certainly don't want to discard them, but there's a huge opportunity there for Ballygunner, and certainly they're definitely the favourites at this moment in time for Munster anyways.
Yeah, well, speaking of teams coming into the Munster Championship, we have to wait to find out Tipperary's champions because a late drama in that game. Lee McGrath's equaliser sends it to a replay between Lockmore Castleiney and Thurles Sarsfields. I mean, we knew this game was going to be a classic. The form that John McGrath was in, the form that Ronan Maher was in on the other side for Thurles Sarsfields, and it definitely lived up to the billing. And which one are you backing in the replay now?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be very interesting, all right, because Thurles Sarsfields definitely, they definitely started the better. Like they had the momentum, no doubt about it. They were leading by 7 or 8 points early in the second half. And you thought surely they're going to go ahead and see this through. And even Ronan Maher scored an absolute wonder score from inside his own half, nearly at his own square. And you were thinking, surely, this is going to be the victory for Thurles Sarsfields. But, Lockmore Castleiney just seem to have this fight in them. And it's probably the reason why they're playing in the football final as well. Like a lot of dual players, a lot of players that give so much for the club. John McGrath and Noel McGrath. And, John McGrath was in superb form. Brian McGrath as well as another player who was in top form. I think there was 4 or 5 McGraths out there on the pitch. And they were all, in top form. I think even Lee McGrath, who came off the bench, was in impressive form as well. So, and it shows as well for John McGrath as well, like how much of a winner and how much of a leader he is. Like even when the final whistle blew, like he was still shouting at the referee because he was saying that they should have got a line ball. And obviously Noel McGrath's very good at those line balls and he might have scored and won the game. You could see even in his interview, he was almost disappointed. You think he'd be a little bit happy considering, they fought back from 7 to 8 points down. But it's going to be an interesting one because they have the football final next week. It's a lot of games, it's a lot of mileage on the legs of those McGraths and some of the other lads as well. Could that catch up with them? I'm not sure. But, it's going to be very, very intriguing. I do think Thurles are the better of the two teams, but I think Lockmore, like, you can't deny their fight. Like, they always just seem to be in with a show going down the home stretch. It was the same in the county final last year as well. So certainly wouldn't rule them out at this stage.
Yeah, no, neither would I. And moving then from that to the Cork semi-final, there was an epic decided on penalties. I mean, we have to talk about the high scoring here. Stephen Sherlock has been on the radar for the Cork footballers for a long time. And I don't know how he hasn't been given more of a crack at the whip, like particularly under Ronan McCarthy. He seemed to persist with the likes of Paul Kerrigan rather than giving Stephen Sherlock a solid run in the team. Sherlock hit 2-10 and Brian Hurdy hit 2-9. St. Finbarr's won on penalties in the Cork semi-final against Castlehaven. They won 5-4. The goalkeeper, John Cairns, is the hero there. What a day for St. Finbarr's.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, I mean, to finish 3-16 each and go the entire way to penalties, I mean, it just shows how much of it shows how good the club game is at the minute. And Yeah, like what you said before, like with Stephen Sherlock, I mean, like obviously what a player he is, and undoubtedly, I'm sure he's put his hands up now for Keith Ricken, and I think in general for Keith Ricken, like the both semi-finals were cracking games, and like the Cork Football Championship is so wide open. Like Nemo Rangers got beaten by Douglas, and then Douglas got beaten by Clonakilty. So I mean, that just shows really how open it is. Brian Hurley, obviously with Castlehaven, like after getting to the final last year, I really felt that they were going to kick on and win it this year. Obviously, that wasn't the case, and when it goes to penalties, you've seen like it could really go one way or the other. So, I mean, a cracking game, no doubt about it, and you'd have to commend the Finbars lads for getting that win, and they'll certainly go in as favourites now against Clonakilty. I done a Cork final preview there during the week. And certainly you'd have to put Finbars as the favourites, but Clonakilty are just going under the radar a little bit. They have a couple of good young players in there, like Darragh Shay, who's actually a Kerry man. He's an impressive player, and Ross Mannix and whatnot. So they're looking pretty good. But for Finbars, like it was a huge win, and as you say, like a penalty shootout, it's a lottery really. It could go one way or the other, and thankfully enough, it went the way of the Bars.
Yeah, without doubt. And I have to say that as much as I like Clonakilty, I have to think that Finbars, I have to agree with you there, the form that Sherlock's in, I don't see how they're going to handle him right now. So while we're on the topic of football championships, we'll move up to Ulster. 3 finals were played up there. Craig and Kickham's beat St. Mary's by a goal and 12 to 7 points to clinch the Antrim championship. Ramore United beat Gowna by 115 to 14 points to be named the Cavan champions. But then the big shock, the big story, Clonairon and Armagh, 2 goals and 12 points, knocking out Crossmaglen Rangers. I didn't see that one coming either.
No, I definitely didn't either, to be fair. And I hadn't watched any of the games in Armagh, so it's very easy probably to look at Crossmaglen as the favourites, and Clonairon, this team that haven't won a county title in 58 years. So it's obvious why a lot of people would look at Crossmaglen as the favourites. But I've done a preview during the week for the Armagh final with Sean Casey of Sideline Eye, who'd be very close with everything up in Armagh. His podcast is completely dedicated to all things Armagh. And he was even saying, look, Clonairon have a very good amount of young players coming through. They've had a lot of underage success. Conor Turba is a player who a lot of people would be familiar with. Tiernan Kelly's another one as well. You think of that goal he scored against Monaghan. And they've a tremendous amount of talent and fight. And, Crossmaglen probably just aren't the same team that they once were, 5-10 years ago. They do have Rian O'Neill and Oisin O'Neill, and they're very good at going forward, no doubt about it. But they definitely do have a lot of vulnerabilities in their full back line. Like they conceded 4 goals in the final last year against Mahary, 2 goals in this game, literally in the final 10 minutes as well, which proved to be the difference. And it was actually a crazy goal as well. I don't know if you've seen it, but it was Jack Conlon's goal. It was literally a long ball floated into the square, and it literally just bounced up over the goalkeeper, hit the post, went into the other corner. It was a bit of a bizarre goal that won it, but for Clonairon, fair play to them, massively deserved. And they're actually playing Craig and Kickham's in the Ulster Club Championship next, and that'll be very interesting. And, Clonairon, they could be dark horses maybe to go on a bit of run through Ulster. They have a good kind of route to the Ulster final. And it could be very interesting keeping an eye on them, all right. And, with the underage success and the players that they have coming through, it's probably not as big a shock in Armagh. It's definitely a shock outside the county, but I think if you speak to a lot of people in Armagh, they'd probably tell you it's not that big of a shock, because Crossmaglen, a lot of people have felt that Crossmaglen are catchable over the past couple of years. But, fair play to them. It's not an easy thing going and ending a big way, and fair play to them for getting the win.
Just before we wrap up on the Ulster Championships, you have to talk about the big one. Tyrone's football championship has obviously been touted as one of the best, if not the best, in the country. Dromore are the champions this season, beating Coal Island. There was controversy around this game because of almost the pay-per-view style to watch the live stream, but it ended up being a very, very good game. They blew away Coal Island in the second half. Yeah, deserving winners this year. Dromore obviously took out the big guns along the way, took out Trillick. All credit to them. They're worthy winners, in my opinion.
Yeah, like what you said, I mean, it was €17 in total to pay for this game. And I actually did pay for the game, unfortunately. But it was an interesting game. It was an intriguing game. It definitely wasn't as good as the 2 semi-finals. It probably didn't have the same level of entertainment. The first half was actually very cagey. It was only 5 points apiece in the first half. And you were kind of looking at either side, which side is going to grab the game by the scruff of the neck, the old saying. And It was definitely Dromore that did so. Emmett McNabb, like he looks like a top class player, no doubt about it. And I'm sure, Fergal Logan and Brian Dooher, who were actually, they were doing a bit of commentary duty in that game. So I'm sure, they seen Emmett McNabb right there in the flesh. So he's definitely put his hands up. And Noel Sludden stood up when he needed to as well, hit a couple of big points. Like Padraig Hampsey, Michael McKernan were decent for Cole Island, especially in the first half. Cole Island actually had like 4 or 5 clear-cut goal chances and actually went for points or either put the shots wide or didn't get anything out of it. So, there was a chance there for Cole Island in the first half because Dromore, probably in a similar fashion to the semi-final with Tralee, started the first half a little bit slowly. But once they clicked into gear, you couldn't stop them. Ronan McNabb as well. He was very impressive. And for Dromore, like very, very good attacking team, worked the ball really well into the inside line. And, a lot of people would have them probably as contenders. But interesting enough, like I had a look at the bookies odds for the All-Ireland favourites, and Dromore aren't even in the top 5. So, I'm definitely not a betting man, but if I was, I'd probably be looking at them as an outside bet to possibly win an All-Ireland.
Yeah, they definitely could be a good shout. And moving from there to the Leinster football action. So in the Carlow Championship, Rathvilly beat Éire Óg by 212 to 110 to claim that championship. Port Darlington won the Laois Championship by 4-9 to Port Laois's 6 points. In the Offaly Championship, that replay between Tullamore and Road, Tullamore came out on top by 9 points to a goal and 4. They very low scoring, tough game that was, but Tullamore grounded it out. In the Wexford Football Championship, Shell Maliers beat Gussaran O'Reilly's, I hope I'm saying that right, by 2-11 to a goal and 10. The Westmeath Senior Football Championship final ended as a draw between Garrycastle and St. Lomans. Now, obviously, the team that comes out of the Dublin Championship is going to be the favourites to go on and win the Leinster Championship, but there have been shocks in the past. Is there any of those teams that you see there that you think might be able to spring a surprise this year?
Yeah, I'd probably say Tullamore, to be perfectly honest. Like they actually have 4 or 5 players that were part of that Offaly under-20 team, as well as some experienced Offaly footballers in there as well. Cormac Egan, John Furlong, 2 players that probably spring to mind from that under-20 side. So like they definitely be a team that could go on a bit of a run. And I can't remember the route now off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure they play, I think it might be Naas in the opening game, which would be a tough game. Like they obviously came through Kildare. But if they come through that, I think they then play the winner of Nave Martins. And, well, provided Nave Martins win their game, which I think they will, they'll play the winner of that. And I think the one of the other sides anyway. But basically, they avoid Dublin anyway, potentially up until the final. I actually think they could end up playing Mulliniochta actually in a semi-final. So, I'd probably look at them. Nave Martins are another team as well that could cause a shock or two. Sam Mulroy is in there, notable loud footballer. You've also got PJ Rooney as well, who a lot of people remember back in his 2010 days for Louth when they reached that Leinster final. And Jim McGuinness has often done a lot of work there behind the scenes as well. He done a bit of work last year, but it wasn't actually supposed to get out, but then it got out into the media. So I don't know, it could be something similar again this year where he's doing a bit of work, but no one knows about it. So they could be another team as well. And Mulliniochta, like winning the 2018 club championship, and funnily enough, if Mulliniochta and Kilmacud Crokes were to win all their games, they'd actually end up playing each other in a Leinster final, which, there'd be a bit of a storyline to that, given the fact that Mulliniochta beat them in 2018. So there's plenty of shocks there, and it's not like the county championship where you just look at Dublin and you say, oh, they're going to win Leinster. It's not even a debate. There definitely is a case for a few teams here that could catch the Dublin champions, whether it is Kilmacud Crokes or St. Jude's. Yeah,
without doubt. And just before we go, I can't believe that you think that the Ballier lads wouldn't have found a pub somewhere in Clare, even though there's not supposed to be one there. There's no way that they didn't get a crate full of beers in to celebrate that win. So that could play against them against Ballygunner. It would be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. Funny enough, I've actually been there before because some of my girlfriend's family are from there. Funny enough, so like I'm sure they'd find a pub somewhere. I know that particular. I don't want to get into those details, but I know there's definitely somewhere to go. Anyways, I'm sure there is, and you never know. I mean, I'm sure those Ballier lads are born winners, and I'm sure they want to go. And a lot of them lads probably aren't happy as well with the fact that it's all Tony Kelly, like it's always the Tony Kelly show, and they probably want to write their own story. with the fact that he isn't there and he isn't going to be there for the All Ireland club scene. So I mean, you never know. I'm sure they did go out and celebrate, but I guess we'll see. We'll see how well they are at recovering from hangovers, anyways.
Yeah, without doubt, maybe a fry up will help them prepare for the next match. But before you go, Aaron, for anyone listening who isn't familiar with what you do you want to tell them what GAAFanTV is, etc.?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no bother. It's just it's a fan channel for Gaelic games, for football, hurling, ladies football, camogie. Probably no different to yourself. Like big passionate fan into Dublin GAA, all GAA, across all circles, from football, from club game, from the under-20s to the ladies game, camogie, absolutely everything. So we just cover absolutely everything in the GAA, from GAA news, podcasts, interviews, and then a whole host of match reactions as well after the game, getting thoughts of various different GAA fans, and also some of my own reactions to games as well, just after a lot of the games, give my own opinions, and I suppose interact with a lot of people in the comments as well. And it's been great so far. And if anyone could go and check it out and subscribe, would be kindly appreciated. Also there on Instagram, GAAFanTV, and on Twitter, so if anyone could check it out, be very much appreciated.
Yeah, well, for anyone listening, I highly recommend it. Aaron, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no bother. Cheers.
All right, guys, that is the Play on GAA podcast Club Roundup. Hope you enjoyed it, and until the next episode, guys, take care.